Oh yes, guys. Oh yes. How is everyone doing today? Is everyone good? Yeah. Let me just grab a classic coconut water and we'll start the day. Obviously, I've done a few labels on the chart as of now to indicate roughly where price is likely to draw. And there was a clear Judas swing at the New York Open that I marked out on the chart. Very obvious manipulation. And let me just get a coconut water. There you go. It's just reached buy side. It's too easy. Actually, no, we're not going for a coconut water today. We're actually going for a blended. I don't even know what this is, but I ordered it. It's ginger, garlic. No, not garlic. Ginger, apple, cider vinegar. Just a load of shit in one drink. Not a Red Bull, no. I've got some Red Bulls in the fridge, but nah, no Red Bulls right now. Yeah, so very obvious Judas swing at the Open. Obviously, not a tradable scenario, but easily predictable. Now, obviously, we accumulated, we manipulated, we returned back to the New York Open price with this candle here. That's when I put Judas swing with tick. Price then reaches with Judas swing towards and distributes towards the high. So we've now swept buy side. Bearish SMT on ES. Okay, so sweep of buy side. We obviously want to see a bearish bias, so we can see if we have that. Let's have a look at the daily time frame and get into bias as we now are nearing, obviously, the 940 area. Okay, right. So daily time frame, it puts us back at all-time highs. So the daily is neutral. Okay. Now trading at all-time highs, it's good for you guys to see it because, brother, drawing that cost me to end trading session today so early, up 1.3k on the Judas swing. I was only marking the chart out. I know, you know what it is? I know when I mark my chart that people do take that quite, they see it as like a kind of hint on where price is going to go. And I know some people can't resist. So, I mean, if you're up on the day, then it wasn't really something you should have taken. Definitely not. But if you are actually up on the day, then one winning trade, that's still a rule in itself. At least follow that rule where you do cancel out for the day and you're done from that point. Well, he's in the stream for what? 5 minutes? He's done. To be fair, if you're trading an evaluation, fair enough. But if that was a funded account, it wouldn't be a smart move. Let's see what this ginger shake is like. It's alright, it's not bad. Tastes a bit like lemon. So, what you guys are going to see today is obviously price action at all-time highs. Now, a lot of people on social media complain about all-time highs because they just don't even know what they're doing. And the way that we actually determine bias at all-time highs is very simple. It's the exact same. Majority of higher time frames are going to lean towards being neutral, and you're going to build some sort of bias off intraday, 5:15 and the hourly. And then you're going to still look for a normal sweep of buy side, sell side, and still trade the model accordingly. Now, do you tend to get a strong bias? Not really, no. So when you're trading at these type of levels, no one actually knows whether price is going to go to 26,000 for the Nasdaq or we're going to see a retracement back to 24. So we take, obviously, previous levels, and that's how we actually build some sort of bias. Without previous levels, then there is no sort of indication on where price is going to go. 4-hour time frame right now is neutral, and so is the daily. So if we look at the hourly time frame, we don't have previous levels to work off. So the hourly is neutral because whether it was bullish or not, it's now met objective. So the 3 higher time frames are neutral, and we're going to build some sort of bias mainly today off the 15 and the 5-minute time frame. Now that's usually the way that I trade all-time highs, is built purely off the 5 and 15-minute time frame. That's correct, yeah. So 15-minute was bullish. It met the high, obviously with the SMT on ES there. Very obvious. And now the 15 is neutral. The 5-minute, as you can see here, is taking the high and it was bullish and it's neutral. So essentially, we just wait with a neutral bias and price will give us some sort of bias. So whether today we are going to see price draw back into this imbalance from CPI and take out some sort of sell side and then formulate a lower time frame bullish bias out of the CPI imbalance, then cool. And we can take that minor sweep of sell side. We've already seen the Judas swing distribute towards the high, but it doesn't mean that we can't see price draw lower again, take out minor sell side, formulate a bias there, and then we can target the highs again. Here he is. Dyer Veni is got two 50k expresses and 100k express. And what, you caught that on your funded account? Yeah, I mean, I know that it's good to be up on the day, right, and see that, but for future, you know, streams and watch me mark out price, make sure you stick it, because if you're on evaluations, it was understandable that you just want to get through that faster. Oh no, it was on the other 50k eval. Yeah, okay, so if it's on the eval, lock that other eval and then trade the expresses. That's perfectly fine. As far as evals, you're meant to be taking valid trades and trade on the risk management eval, and that's going to guarantee that you pass the account. Now, if you take things outside of the model on the higher risk management of an eval, then there is obviously that chance that you'll pass, but it's more or less 50-50 whether you're going to pass or not. Now, if you want an actual guaranteed way to pass evals, then obviously trading the model accordingly, it will get you there within a 2 to 3 week period. Considering that 11 out of 12 months are closing out in the green, then yes, you would close out your evals to get funded. But yeah, with that 100k and the 2 expresses there that you got, just wait for obviously valid trades and then execute upon that. But yeah, with the eval, you guys can choose what you want to do with evals, but personally, I always go for the route of, say, 2-3 weeks or 4 weeks, run them in the background. And the only reason why one person might try rush an eval, if it's the point that they don't have any funded accounts. So they're so in a rush to make money that they do take these type of trades, where it wouldn't be a model, but they would just take something. They just want to get funded so quick, right? So when you're at the point when you've got prop firms stacked on prop firms, running it and copying them across, you don't actually have the time to even bother with a few evals. You just run them in the background and they are synced onto your funded account. So the risk management that you apply on your funded account, they just go on evals and the evals pass in the background. And sometimes your eval monthly subscriptions, they tick over, and I've had it where I've been running an eval in the background and it's been about a month and a week, so it's ticked over and then it's passed after a month and a week. So, you know, it really depends. Do you average a month to pass an eval? I mean, I've passed an eval following the model within a week, so it really depends, because you only need 3 to 4 winning trades on the risk management sheet, so that can happen in a week, 2 weeks. But, you know, if we be realistic, say you have 1 winning trade a week, then, you know, 3-4 weeks is 2-3 weeks is a pretty good point of view. Yeah, so obviously we've got a neutral bias as of now. Essentially, trading at all-time highs is with bias. It's like Russian roulette. You know, you've got one bullet and you're spinning it. You don't know whether the bullet's going to land or whether we're going to draw higher or draw lower. No one actually knows. So when we actually come back to price action or into a discount and we work off recent levels like this bullish imbalance, that's how we can formulate some sort of bias. So that's how as it currently stands. Is there another news event? Yeah, so that one obviously just hit 55 seconds ago. That was the red folder at 9:45. Charlie typed 1. I'm so confused. 1 and 2. 1, 2. I'm pretty confused from that. Mistake. Was changing TV. Oh. Alright. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. This week I've been on quite a few calls back and forth with a few different brokers, and then I ended up getting on a, what do you call it, Teams. I like you doing Google Meet, but it was Teams today, and they sent me a link to join. So I spoke to them and ended up purchasing two one-bedroom apartments. Is Milo talking? Absolutely. So I purchased two apartments, one bedroom over in Dubai, and it's in Business Bay. Now there was two places that I almost considered buying, which was, I actually forgot the name of it. What did I even buy? One sec. Something sofa. One sec. I forgot the bloody name of it now. One sec. That's not good, is it? You don't even know what you bought. One sec. Safergate. Safergate. So, two one-bedroom apartments in Safergate, and there was another one called Riverside that I actually remember quite well. So I remember Riverside, but Safergate kind of goes out of my head. So the Riverside one was kind of a little bit out of, the central part of Dubai. Business Bay is very good investment. JVC is, I've been told, and what I've seen is actually not very good. So I've stuck to Business Bay. Of course, Business Bay, it's on Zayed Road or something. I remember ripping the R1 down there, going about 300. So I know that someone said, is this the model? Well, if we look on the 5 minute and the 15 and the bias side of things, we actually have no bias right now, so we can't take a trade. So it's a neutral bias. Yeah, Shaki Zayed Road, but I remember ripping about 300 down there. So pretty fast road, I'm pretty sure. So that's where it's being built, and it's not currently built. It's being completed or estimated in Q4 of 2029. So I've put down 14% of, what was the AED? I know it was 120k pounds. So I put that down, 14%, and I'm paying 1% a month until the completion, and then before the handover I pay some sort of like 400k pounds, and then that's like the final 30% or whatever they want on the final bit. Now I can choose to put that on a mortgage, or I can choose to pay it off, but that's in 4 years, so I'll decide then. But I always look at preserving capital, so I put that on a mortgage on the final 30%, and let the tenants pay the rest off with, I wouldn't mind paying a 5% per year interest. So the Business Bay is in Marina, right? I'm actually not too sure on the location. Now, I only found out about this property today. I really like the look of it. I really like the location and the pricing. And I spoke to quite a few agents, and I ended up closing for this one. So I've not actually done too much research into it. I just know the area is really good. And I was looking for something more about the area rather than what it is. But it's got very good facilities, and that's why I just acquired those two. Now, some people could say that I tell people not to buy anything right now. Okay, but I've bought an off-plan project, so I'm not buying at the current real estate price. I'm buying as if 2029, essentially. So the handover date is late of 2029. So I'm not essentially buying real estate at current price and then experiencing it to, say, trickle lower by 10-20%, which I couldn't care less about anyway. When it comes to real estate, especially over in Dubai, it's one of the, I see it as the fastest growing city in the world. Now, I don't care what anyone says. No city in the world is growing like Saudi Arabia. Now, I've been all around different places, and no country... See, I'm not really too good on geography, by the way, but no country of what I've been to moves that efficiently, is that safe, and moves that fast with construction. Now, yes, there's slave labour, but there's slave labour everywhere. So they get stuff done fast. Abu Dhabi's the same. That's what I'm saying. Saudi Arabia in general, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Saudi Arabia and Dubai, Abu Dhabi and Dubai is all in Saudi Arabia. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not the best on geography. But yeah, so Saudi Arabia in general is going to the moon. You know, they are the richest countries in the world, so they can do the most. They're signing deals with the US like it's nothing. $400 billion. Now, do I like every single rule that they have? I don't really care. I'm in it to make money. Will I end up living there? Potentially. I'm still, you know, debating on it. But as of now, I'm still staying over in Thailand, even though I've closed those deals, as I very much do like Thailand and how kind of relaxed it is on the rules. I can rip a bike and not have any issues. So I will stay here until my ADHD and, you know, kind of calms down. So we should full port on UAE. Well, as far as real estate, yes, you should. And you should have, you know, three things. The only three things that you need in order to make money, okay, is, doesn't matter if you take a 2k payout, a 10k payout, or 30k, all you need to do is park at least 50-60% of your payout into a live account. Wait, let me just answer this question and we get back to that. If we were in a higher time frame bearish bias, is the setup good since... Okay, right. Well, let's take a look. So, Judah swing, swept buy side, shifted structure on NQ and ES, order block, which is not paired with a gap on ES, and there is no order block on NQ. So no, there is no sort of mitigation or breaker paired with a gap. So it's a non-valid trade regardless on bias. Back to remember, guys, you make your own informed decision on trades that you take. I'm just here, I'm telling you guys what... Nah, why are people putting gay flags on that guy? Nah, I'm just here explaining to you guys my thought process and the positions that I actually am choosing to take and what I see as valid with the checklist and the model that I take. That's jokes. Yeah, so back to Dubai. Now, there's many places in the world that you can get better returns. Now, I know people who have bought land over in Turkey, and land over in Turkey shoots up 100% in 1 year. Now, I'm not too familiar with things such as that over in Europe, and I'm more familiar and have more connections over in Dubai for some reason, as I've not really travelled to Turkey too much. Maybe soon, you know, maybe the hair might fall out. We might have to get down there, stick a few, you know, parts from the back of my head back on. But as of now, the hairline's hanging on. I do need a new set of teeth. I'd admit that. So that'll be coming soon. But apart from the hair, I don't need to go Turkey anytime soon. I won't go Turkey for the teeth. I'll probably get like composite bonding, something like that. But yeah, we was talking about Dubai, and obviously what I would do and what I would suggest is don't deal with real estate until you have at least, I would say, 2 million AED, which is 500k USD. Actually, no, let me re-say this actually, because if you work with banks, let's say you need 250,000 USD cash, and then you can start dealing with real estate in Dubai. Without surpassing 250,000 in payouts, then I wouldn't actually deal with real estate in Dubai, as you use you could say, the off-plan projects, and if you purchase something over 2 million AED, which is around 500k USD, right? But you're doing, say, off-plan projects, so let's say you put 14% down. After a few months and payments, you are going to qualify for a golden visa. Okay, so let's say you put down 100, or you put down about, you know, 120. Okay, or around 80k ish USD, 80-90k USD. As your first initial down, you pay monthly 1% a month. You want to have at least, you know, I would say 150. Let's put it at 150. 150 is the standpoint where if you've done 150k in payouts, right, and you've built your live account, you've built your crypto portfolio to at least 50k, so your crypto portfolio, minimum 50, your live account, minimum 50, and then once you put 100 there, so yeah, it's 250. You need to make $250,000 in payouts, 150 for real estate, 50 for live, and 50 for crypto, and that's a very good point to be in, because then you get golden visa, and what's the point? What if you don't even want to live there? Well, even if you don't want to live in Dubai, if you're a foreigner, expat, or whatever they call you, Falang, whatever they call you, if you approach a bank like Emirates Bank, Barclays Bank in Dubai, they are going to want a 50% down payment. If you have the golden visa, they are going to be more willing to give you a better LTV, loan to value, okay? So you're going to get more or less, if you're lucky, 30% down payment, and they cover 70%. But realistically, they give you more or less like a 35% to 40% LTV, and, you know, with that, you can obviously purchase more. So yeah, it makes sense to do, you know, off plan over 500k USD first, put 150 into it. That's my advice. Now, I know a lot of you don't actually care as of now about what I'm saying about the real estate, but I know a lot of you, and all of you, are going to get there to the point where you are going to be interested in doing this. So that's why I'm just kind of spreading the light on things that you'd be doing in the future. Now, many of you guys know things about different avenues that you will go down that I'm not really too familiar with. So don't always listen to me about where to put your money. I'm only just telling you my point of view, what I've learned over the years. Now, I'm only 21, so many of you guys are a lot older and a lot wiser and know a lot more. But from my research so far, that's what I've decided to do. Lucas, now I got out with $108 profit. So he's seen his trade and he just wasn't really feeling it. It's not about emotions, Lucas. This is something that, you know, nothing personal. I know there's other people inside the group as well, but, you know, if you take a trade, your trade either takes you out, it's all good. It's all good. It's not a problem at all. You're going to experience this. You know, everyone experiences this. Do you know how many trades I've taken outside of macro, outside the model, or trades I've full ported at the New York Open in the early days just to pass accounts, or even unfunded accounts? You know, so it's all a learning curve, and without experiencing it, you're actually never going to learn. So you do have to go through the bad parts in life. And it's not exactly a bad part, it's just a learning curve, right? If you get in a pool and you can't swim, without sinking to the bottom, you're not actually going to learn how to swim. So you do have to essentially, even with my guidance, you still have to do it. When you are in a trade, and you know the trade's correct, your only job as a trader is to manage it correctly. Trail your stops accordingly, etc. That's all it is. Doesn't matter if you make money or you lose money on the trade. If you took the right trade, then your job is just to manage it correctly. If we take the first low after entering a short, you trail to the previous high. And then, for example, if we take a low past 50% from TP to break even, you guys already know. You go break even. What's a good time to pass an eval and then take a payout or compound? Well, a good time to pass an eval's, you know, any time. Are you talking about trying to? Is there like a secret to passing an eval, or? I mean, you can pass an eval at any time as long as you're trading the model correctly. But as far as taking payouts, now we have inside of the Discord the scaling plan, okay? And the scaling plan, you can take, obviously according to it, you can choose, you can take a few $500 payouts, a few $1,000 payouts along the way, you know, pay yourself. And I advise you do, with a 50k funded account, once you're about 2.5k in a profit, if you got 5 accounts from that point, or even if you got one, take 500 off the top. You know, it's only a $500 payout, but you're leaving yourself with a 2k drawdown, which is completely acceptable and fine. You take that $500, and if you're just starting off, right, and that $500 will then apply to getting you essentially the rest of your other 4 accounts. If you need 5 and you only got 1, oh, here we go. We got someone who's voluntarily put themselves as a speaker. Go on, Peter. How's it going? Hello? Peter, can you hear me, brother? Peter, we can't really hear you. Peter. Yeah, I don't know what's with these imposters. We had an imposter yesterday, and you know, someone. No. Yesterday was the dirty carpet or something. Clean the carpet imposter, and then we had Peter. Peter's all good. Don't worry about that, Peter. It's all good. I don't know how you got in there. Nothing major. Must be something on my end that I have to change. Who knows? Well, 5-minute time frame, you can see is actually bullish right now. So we have a bullish bias on the 5-minute. For a draw on the high. So the only time frame is that one there, 15-minute. What's the longest you've gone without taking a trade? I believe it's about this time period. I would say it's about this time period. You know, 1 week. I had 1 week where I didn't take a trade, so it was Monday straight to Friday. I must have experienced it. It was this year. I'd say before August, July. I didn't take a trade for the whole week. I was just monitoring price and there wasn't anything. Now, don't assume that today, so it's not a problem. See what we get. Still got 3 macros, guys. Milo, so yeah, what are you saying, Ash? You're actually in the chat. Can you hear me, yeah? Right, let's get Ash on the mic. Ash, I'm going to put you as a speaker. I don't even know how I do that. Speak message.
Ash 10 Hazard said wise mate.
I don't even know how to do it. I don't even know why that Siri stuff came up. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to put you as a speaker, mate. You're banned. So, Milo, so you say to take, for example, 424 accounts, for example, top step? 424, I'm a bit confused for that. Now, Ash is currently live, obviously he can't probably speak on this one. But yeah, if you raise your hand at the bottom, you would be able to hop on the stream. Who's Ash? He's from the UK, and he must have... I must have bumped into him on social media probably about a year and a half ago, or a year ago. And who knows, we got in touch. A few messages back and forth, and then, you know, we've never actually met, but we are going to link up soon, you know. We're going to link up. We actually will do a big meetup, guys. All of us. We'll do a big meetup. I'll be making sure of that. So that will happen. Where do I plan to meet up with everyone? Well, I mean, let's think. I'd say, you know, Dubai's probably the best. Or Miami. It's Dubai or Miami. That's the only two places in the world, right? I feel like it's got to be Miami. Or Dubai. Well, we've got quite a few Dubais. It's coming in. Yeah, well, obviously not Bournemouth, yeah. Yeah, we'll make it happen, you know. We'll make it happen. We'll attempt some sort of UFC fight, you know, and we'll all watch it. And we'll have a full meet up, do whatever. Someone said Colombia, maybe. I mean, you know, Colombia's a great idea, but I think there is quite a lot of non-single men in this group, and there's actually, what, 2 women. So, you know, I think Colombia's great. That would have to be, like, part of the group that's, say, not married. Because I don't do the married stuff, but there is people in this group who do the married stuff. So they wouldn't want to go Colombia. That might cause a divorce. Absolutely. I just remembered, guys, I just turned off that Discord noise, so it makes it a little bit more pleasant on the ear. I'm just going to mark out that New York Open low on ES. Because I would like to see price draw back to a discount and take out the New York Open low on ES, and also take out sell side, reaching into this bullish imbalance, and that's the trade that I would like to take. Now, I would say 1 trade per year. Now, I've spoke about this before. I've taken trades many times where price wouldn't really fill 50% of the CPI imbalance. Now, this is actually a 95% occurrence, so this is a bit of knowledge and a bit of source for you guys. As far as the fib tool, if you look at the CPI imbalance from the low of the imbalance on the 1 minute time frame to the high, price always, if you backtest this, CPI after CPI after CPI, price always seeks 50% of the range of the CPI. Now, I've actually taken trades where we have experienced at the New York Open for price to not seek 50% of CPI. And then what have I done? I've seen an opportunity to seek 50% of CPI. And for example, after CPI, price can go a little bit stagnant. Now, this only happens because there's only 12 CPIs a year. It tends to happen quite rarely, so there's not really much point in talking about it. But as far as other news events which are volatile like this, we can have an accumulation period, price manipulates, forms. This only obviously works if you're mid-range. Right now we're all-time highs, but if you work into a bearish imbalance and then you get the model to then target 50%, then that following a bearish bias would be great. That's a sweep of data highs and trading into higher time frame, causing a bearish bias, sweep buy side, model 50%. But there's not many of those trades. Probably haven't taken one of those even this year. I believe it was a 2024 trade. But as far as the 50% of a CPI or a news imbalance, that's a real thing. So that's a very high probability indication on where price is actually going to draw to. Now, when I seen this at the New York Open, I was so confident that this was manipulation below the low from price seeking 50%, taking sell side, closing for a Judas swing, and then price to distribute towards the high. That's very obvious on what price is doing. Apart from that, there is nothing obvious about the current price action. So the 5's now neutral. But yeah, definitely this week is definitely weeks where traders get absolutely wrecked. So this is a week where you take unnecessary losses. This is where your eval progress of what you've done over the last few weeks just gets wiped out, or your funded accounts go into a drawdown when you don't have to lose money, guys. You don't have to take invalid trades. It's an intentional decision. And this week there's been no trades so far. Now we still have 2 and an eighth of a macro left, and if there is a trade valid, I'm here to take it. I'm not here to sit around and waste time. I'm here to make money off valid trades. Okay, but trading the model accordingly and not trading outside of it has allowed us to avoid so many losing trades this week that have occurred right in front of us. I've told you guys this trade's not valid, okay, and then it's ran to stop. This trade's not valid, it's ran to stop. And how many times have we seen that in the last week? We've avoided about 5-6 trades that there may be a confluence or two missing, or even 2 trades on the Wednesday that we've seen. For example, it was a couple ticks off entry. Some people must have entered, some were itching. Going into today, I was pretty confident that we was going to get a position, but we'll have to see how price performs going into the 2nd AM. The only probable scenario that will give us a trade is if price comes back to a discount. If it doesn't and it continues higher, then there will not be any trades. So we need to see, obviously, price seek the bullish imbalance again. Majority of accounts are blown on Fridays. People don't wait to end the week and do dumb shit. They will also, yeah, I mean, it's always that kind of relapse effect of that Monday is like a fresh week for a drug addict to last a week, right? Essentially, it's the same thing as dopamine receptors. They can't control it. But when you actually get to the point when you've had enough and you really do dial in and stick to the model, then you do last week after week after week. And when you see low probability models or things outside of the model, then go against and against. And you see yourself avoiding and avoiding. It really does, make you sit there and just have patience. But it takes time. I didn't get to this point. I was the most impatient person ever. It's probably the worst. Stick to the model for a month and you'll never want to take a trade against it. So you listen to Dom, guys. That's the man right there. How much do you reckon you've spent on evals before becoming consistent? I must have spent around $5,000, I would say. So nothing, I would say, too crazy of what I've heard from other people. But I didn't actually have the money at the time. So when I was starting off with evals, I was actually working in the warehouse and doing, odd jobs all over the place. I was running an iPhone repair business. So I'd finish the shift that I was working, go around people's houses in, some shit car. It was actually a BMW I bought for £800. I'll go fix people's phones for 50 quid. £20 profit here, £20 profit there. Fix 3 phones, that's an extra £60 on the day on top of what I've made, from the job. So at the time I thought I was hustling, I thought I was doing well, but in grand scheme of things, it was only the stepping stones to what I was actually headed to. And how do I put this? That money that I made, then I impatiently lost to get myself out of the situation that I was currently in, because I seen the potential of what I had with ICT, and I seen it playing out day by day, and it almost felt as if months after months did go by at the beginning stages of that. I was so close. I would see the model play out and I would end up taking the wrong trade, or there would be almost about a month straight where I would continue to make a mistake, and I was always learning a new thing every day. I was like, oh, but I ran my stop loss here, and then the trade actually played out, and that was the one trade, or the second trade of the week that played out, but I made a mistake with the stop loss, or I made a mistake because I didn't look at ES and ES took it, and then it was just mistake after mistake, and I was learning and learning and learning, until eventually I ended up starting, a couple other different jobs or whatever, and then eventually I reached towards my first payout, which I got paid out 2 5k payouts, right? And with that first payout, I managed to achieve it from 1 month of actually having the model written down and knowing exactly what I was looking for and sticking to that. But then after that, I did actually lose it all again. So it was, a whole cycle that I got paid out and I lost it all and back to the start. I had to build up again. It took me like 3 months. And then after that next payout, I actually quit the job and I left, and that was it. And from that point, I scaled up and I'm at where I'm at today. You fixed your own phones yet, bro? Well, matter of fact, both of these phones are absolutely destroyed. And I'm waiting for the new phone that I've bought to actually arrive in the, what do you call it? The shop. Because they've ordered it and it said it takes 2 weeks to deliver. They don't even have the AirPod 3s in Thailand. They still only have the older ones. But yeah, to be honest, I think the iPhone 11 Pro Max is probably the best phone that Apple ever made, What do you guys think? 11 Pro Max is the best. Yeah, so obviously we're currently outside of macro and we're just seeing if price seeks a discount. So we are looking for this point of sell side and nothing else. So New York open low or nothing for ES to formulate a bias. Minor sell side on NQ. Okay, so it's all right there. I've seen one person actually comment. Let me read this comment. One sec. So I replied to it earlier. Here it is. Here we go. Bro, what happened? You've been wrong with bias 3 out of 4 times this week and 1 red trade on Monday. SMH. What does SMH mean? So I don't know that. I know it's a slow week, but your bias read has been a miss. Oh, shake my head. Okay. So if the bias read has been a miss, and I've clearly stated that there has been no valid trades and due to a human error on Monday, which I've made 1 mistake in trading outside of macro in 3 years, right? So that was, didn't realize that we was 30 seconds outside of macro. We are still up, 1.2 R, and I'm up 5.2 R on the month. Now, this week there's been no valid trades, clearly stated. As far as bias is there as a guide and it's not going to lead 100% of the time, but it is the highest probability form of bias that you can formulate. If, for example, which you never actually replied to the reply, now, it's a good comment, but it's kind of an uneducated comment because there is no form of bias that actually comes at a better form than off imbalances. And I've spent hours and hours, days and days backtesting just bias based off different PD rays. So if it was to come back with a different bias that had a higher actual win rate, for example, cool. But what I said on Monday the trade was very rare human error, which I have only made once in my career trading outside of macro. This week there has been no actual valid trades that align with my model. Feel free to backtest the way I determine bias. Compare all of the ICT traders who use all PD rays, or some, which end up guessing game on bias. If you have a better model or way to determine bias and have done over $1 million in payouts, please suggest. Thanks, Milo. And he just got destroyed, it was all over after that. Damon's done a lovely profit on the day, or on the month. You're on the month. Yeah, it's been a good month so far. We had a very clean week for the start of the month, and then the second week going into the month with you guys on the live streams, we caught an absolute banger, of course. We caught one break even, 1.2 to 1R, and we almost caught another 2 to 1R, which was a couple ticks off. We got a 0.2R on that trade in the profit, so we closed last week plus 2.2. The week before I closed it, I believe, a 3R in a profit, so I'm up a 5.2, or potentially I had 3 trades before that. I'd have to do the maths again. No, 2 trades. Yeah, 2 trades, that was it. But yeah, so far it's been a decent October. The thing is, you don't actually have to give this model a month. And you don't have to give it a week. You only have to give it one night of thorough backtesting. If you are ever in doubt with the model, by any means, go on to TradeZella, open up a backtesting session, start in July, and backtest to where we are currently today. And if you do a backtesting session of 12 to 13 hours with a coffee or a Red Bull, right, do 2 6-hour sessions, one on one day and one on the next, you will have all the confidence that you need. If you do it correctly and don't rush backtesting, right, still formulate your bias before the trade. Make sure everything aligns off the checklist, which you guys have inside the Discord. And you guys will see, for those of you that actually want that kind of reassurance, there it is. So feel free. Now, in August, you will find that you close up over 10R in a month. September, potentially you might close that as break even, from what I've heard. And I didn't really trade during September, only at the starting days. Most people are not willing to spend that much time. Yeah, I mean, you know, if people are lazy, they don't get anywhere in life. It's very simple. I see reels of, you know, say, you know, a car pulls up in Monaco and they say, what does he know that I don't know? You know, he just knows how to turn up and do the job. And do the work that needs to be done. If you've already obtained the knowledge, and some people can be stupid enough to not apply it or even test it, then, you know, Costa and Starbucks is available for those type of people to, you know, serve a coffee. That was price action during the end of the year, November and December. Performing very well. November and December tends to perform as clean months. Last November, I actually had a losing month. But over the last 3 years, I've actually experienced November and December to be nice, volatile, clean months. And same with January, February, March, April, and May. Even June sometimes, but June starts to quieten down. But we have all of those months ahead of us. It's amazing. Yeah, never hate on the guy flipping burgers, you know. Maybe he's got plans. Maybe he's got plans. Everyone's got a plan, you know. Well, not everyone. Not everyone. I actually worked as a chef for one day and I got sacked. I gave someone food poisoning. They put me as a chef in charge of the grill, and I put the chicken in the fryer and I took it out after about 30 seconds, put it on the plate. It looked pretty, you know, orange. Served it, came back, customer threw up, and it was because, you know, they had been there for about 30-40 minutes. Food poisoning kind of was settling in with that chicken. I didn't realise, I didn't intentionally do it, but I didn't obviously cook it right. Got sacked the same day. That was one of the jobs at the starting points that I did do as well. Just never been really that good with cooking, you know. It's not a specialty I've got. Always got order. Always got order. These should be fast months. Been stuck on a prop firm evaluation for 4 weeks. Well, this month you should have passed the evaluation, because 5.2R of what I've currently got as myself for this month, including the loss that was a mistake, is actually a 6.2R month. So that eval would have been passed during October, trading the model correctly. So it's fine, and you will pass that shortly anyway. What's Clive saying? I've not actually heard of Clive, to be honest. Obviously, I was coaching Clive one-to-one for a bit of time, and it's been a while since I've spoke with Clive. He got paid out. I didn't hear anything of him again. You know, he got paid out. How much did he get paid? 3 or 5k, something like that. I didn't really hear of him again. I don't know if he went on his own thing. Apparently his mate was on his account. Why is his mate on his account and used minis instead of micros? It's unfortunate. I'll have to drop him a text and, you know, get him inside of this group and make sure he's on the right tracks. Because he was doing very well. You know, he's executing the model correctly. He traded it for a month straight. Boom, got paid. That's how we do it. Nah, Clive's absolutely jokes. Oi, Ash, tell him to get back on the road, mate. Tell him to get back on the road. These absolutely jokes. Waiting for this second day of macro. Pretty much a perfect trend line. Potentially. That's where we're looking for price to draw, so we'll see. If it does come down to minus sell side, then obviously we can formulate a bias from that point. It would be bullish. It would then be a sweep of sell side, and then it would be then our third step to look for a shift in market structure to target the highs, which actually is very nice to see. That is left data highs on ES, so that would be a point of target on ES, and NQ would be the buy side left here. So we still have to wait and see. We got 15 minutes until the second macro now. In California, I would have to pay around 30% of payout profits. I thought it was more than that, actually. I'm pretty sure you got to pay 50% or 40%. Something around that, yeah, it's quite high. I mean, it's definitely not something you should stick to. Once you get past 50k payouts, we'll definitely help you with getting off that sort of tax bracket. Do prop firms generate tax documents? They do generate, obviously, invoices of the payments that they send you. But as far as like the IRS, I know how HMRC works in the UK, and they're working in a crazy way right now. You know, they're scanning people's social medias. I'm so glad I'm out of that. And They scan people's social medias for living above their how much they're paying on tax. They're what else are they doing? Everything under the sun. They're doing everything right now. Absolute shambles that place is, you know. We've got a bullish SMT on NQ at the low, and that is a good point as well about someone saying, how come I'm not considering minor sell side? Now, I have this as a more high probability point of sell side, so we still got time till the macro. The only reason why is because trading into this point of sell side, which has been taken on ES, bullish SMT on NQ, we can consider it, and yes, it would formulate potentially a bias on the 5 minute, whether that's a closed gap or not, but we will look at that in, you know, a few minutes. As far as that being a sweeper sell side, we need to question whether we have a bias or not as we get close to the macro, which I do at 10:40, and I've marked this point because I want to see this point as we're going to have a stronger bias on the 5, the 15, and potentially the hourly. Yeah, the hourly. Okay. And filling into more of the unfilled space below that point of sell side. So yeah, it's a more high probability point of sell side. We can consider this one if we do have some sort of bias working out of it. We'll have to wait a little bit closer. We still got 5 minutes until we get onto bias. So I'll mute my mic for the next 5 minutes. Speak to you guys in a sec. Alright, so let's take a look. 5 minute time frame. Yeah, it's not a gap, so five minute right now is bearish. Trading out of the bearish gap. Yeah, neutral. Yeah. So all we got as of now is the 5. So essentially, yeah, if we had a bullish bias, this would be a valid trade to take. A sweep of minor sell side on ES, a bullish SMT on NQ. And if we got an entry inside of macro, then we would consider that as an entry. But now we're starting to obviously take out some of these highs here, and our bias is on the 5, bearish. There wouldn't be any trades anyway. Alright, so let's delete that point of buy side. Let's mark the SMT just so we know we have it there, even though it's not really relevant. Yeah, so, you know, the thing that I was thinking about today is that the money that I put into the two one-bedroom apartments as a deposit today, you know, I would recoup that money that I've put in, the 120k pounds, I would recoup, and even if I'm paying, you know, that monthly amount, but I recoup that in payouts. By the time Bitcoin comes back to a discount, whether it's in a month, 2 months, 3 months, I would recoup plus more from payouts back into my crypto portfolio. So that's what I had to do. I took some out of the crypto portfolio because it's currently stagnant cash, and I wanted to do something with it. So I took a portion of the, the crypto portfolio. Why does it say stream has a yellow? You guys can see the stream, right? It's all good. Pretty sure. Yep. Oh yes. Oh yes. So surely the only trade that someone could have taken today, which was an invalid trade, so the only invalid trades that you could have taken today would have got stopped. So every trader on ICT today, trading outside of the model, they did get raped. That's what usually happens. That's where probability lies against them. So that's what they're experiencing. I mean, you know, using the word raped is quite a harsh word, but it is reality for their accounts. Their accounts, you know, that's exactly what happened to their accounts. See, Rami said it was a perfect trade, but out of macro 1039. Well, there was two things here. The bias was leaning towards somewhat bearish or neutral, but nowhere near bullish. So the bias wasn't with it, and it was outside of macro. So, you know, it's like saying there's the best looking cake in the world, but if you eat it, you get HIV. So we obviously can't eat it. You know, we definitely can't take that. So it does obviously, in hindsight, you can see obviously price is traded out of the gap and it's drawing higher towards buy side. But you do have to know that we've avoided about 6 losses that other traders potentially have taken. They've watched the 2022 one or two times or once, right? And they might have thought this was the 2022 model, or maybe this one here, or this one, and they've missed a few things out. Yeah, I know my explanations, they're quite extreme, but it's kind of realistic. Milo is going to post a trade when there is one, or isn't one. The trades I post on social media, like the videos that I post, I don't even manage those videos that get posted out. So the long form videos that are taken of, say, me answering questions of people who ask me questions, like the Q&A, that obviously just gets sorted out by someone who just edits it down and puts it as value on Instagram for people to obviously watch in a short form video. And then as far as ICT speaking, that's more education, where, you know, the ICT kind of speech reels, which people may see, that in itself is not a trade that I took today. It would be a trade that I took, say, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, right? But the actual speech itself has value within it that maybe some of you guys would take away as valuable. You know, on days like today, if, you know, we don't take a trade, obviously we got until price comes down to sell side. So, you know, we can't grab the Nasdaq, you know, and make it do what we want. But if we get something that's valid, then obviously I will present it and take it. Now, the outcome on the next trade, just because you've waited for the trade, doesn't mean that it's any more favorable and, oh, this one has to play out, you know? So we're still based off a 58% win rate, and the probability of the trade is based off of probability. So we will see. Regardless, I close this month in a profit, regardless. So that's guaranteed. The same with November as well. November we will close out on a profit, and December. Next year and the year after does not stop. Still has a 42% chance of not playing out, Yeah. Even if you've got a 40% win rate, trading this model, you're still profitable on a 2-to-1 risk to reward. December, I got paid out decently in 2024 December. Took around 150k payout. And I mean, yeah, December is kind of cut short. You know, we stopped trading from around the 17th of December because there's a lot of bank holidays, there's a lot of news days and things interrupting different days, you know. So essentially, we do get around a week and a half ish of a break in the end of December. Not because I choose, because I would turn up if I could, but essentially the market's closed on some days, and that's usually the case is about 18th of December. Because you get all these New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, you get this Boxing Day. I don't know what all these days are, but you know, New Year's will be something good to see. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they just sit around and eat a bunch of food for what? Like for what? What have you actually achieved? Like you're preparing for the new year. You know, why would you get fatter? Well, if you're bulking, you're bulking. You know, but why would you become unproductive before the new year starts? Why would you work and improve yourself the whole year? Or some people, they're on a decline, but majority of people, 95% of people, on some sort of incline, right, through the year. And then it comes to the end of the year and they're just like, oh, you know what, let's have a break. Let's get in a really bad, you know, routine towards the end of the year and just let's fuck up January. And then, you know what, on the day before January 1st, let's put a resolution in. Even though the last week I've done absolutely fuck all and I've eaten the worst I ever have the whole time. I've just sat on a sofa watching TV. You know what? Let's put a resolution. I'm going to become, you know, the fastest track runner. How does that make sense? Your resolution starts from every single day you wake up. You become and achieve something every single day. It doesn't matter even if you achieve something small. You know, the fact you woke up is amazing, but the first thing you achieve in the morning is the best breakfast that you can possibly get your hands on. And you don't have to spend $1,000 on a breakfast. You just have to consume something that is good. Not McDonald's. You know? I've had a fair share of McDonald's, but in the morning, you've got to start right. Yeah, it's, you know, as Jack said, yeah. I mean, it's like procrastination. They believe that the boat will come in. The boat of cash will come in next year. It's all good. It's not a problem. The boat of cash will happen in Q2. That's when I'm really gonna excel. You know, that's what everyone would say. No, the boat's not coming for 95% of people. They're never gonna make any sort of money apart from the money that they make from turning up. You know, you got good old John and Wendy in the morning, and they're offering you a black coffee at their job. Okay, so the 5 minute got inverse, so the 5 minute would be bullish, trading out of the bullish gap as well. We assume that is respected, bullish until the next point of buy side. As far as the 15 minute, the 15 minutes neutral, and we know obviously on the hourly, the 4 hour, etc., these time frames still remain as neutral. So the bias right now actually leans on the 5 minute as bullish. So a short as of now, even though we do have a inverse order block paired with a gap, a shift, we have now taken out a point of minor sell side, and this would not be a valid short with a bullish SMT on ES. Now, what price is likely doing here, so we can actually take a trade, is that it's seeking into a discount, it's reaching for liquidity, okay, and it's going to formulate in the second part of this macro a position for longs to target the high, or it will present it inside of lunch. Oh wow, look at that. Nice, you know, Aggressive candle lower there. That's going to reach for sell side, that aggressive candle there. That's the start of a, most likely price is going to seek back into that CPI imbalance and take sell side, so that'll be good to see, because then that would actually formulate a nice bullish bias out of the CPI imbalance, tapping into it again, taking sell side. That's what we want to see. Oh, here we go. We got a good question. We need 3 out of 5 time frames to be the bias in order to trade in that direction. So that's false, but true at the same time. A bias is based off what you have more of. For example, if we have this right now, our bias is bullish. Even though we have 1 result and 4 neutrals, neutral means nothing. But with the 5 minute being bullish, obviously it might have changed as of now. No, the 5 minute is still bullish. The 15 minute is now bullish. Okay, so we're formulating more of a bias. So we're getting, you could say, more breadcrumbs from the market. But yeah, good question. Our bias is built off what we have more of. So if we have 1 bearish result, it is a bearish bias. If we have 1 bullish result, it's a bullish bias, but it's not a strong bullish bias. We do have a bullish bias. It's not strong. Strong is when you have all 5, and strong, you know, long, all bullish, bearish, all 5, bearish. If you have 3 results and the other 2 results the opposites, then it does lean towards that side, yes. So, but you're not always going to get 5 results, right? I don't know, hopefully that kind of answers your question, or makes some sort of sense. But it's what you have more of as far as bias. Right, so we have swept sell side, we do have a bullish bias, we do have a bearish order block. If price shifts market structure above this high on NQ and ES, this will be a valid trade to take for longs. Okay, and we will be targeting that high. So if we shift structure above this high on NQ, above that high on ES, and that will be an inverse order block, and if we shift enough, it would be an inverse order block with the gap. As of now, it acts as a bearish confluence until proven not, for price to draw lower. Okay. Otherwise, it would just seek the equal lows that we have here. So we can now change this to relative equal lows. We've got 15 minutes left of the 2nd AM. But if we do shift, you know, above this short-term high, that's ideally what we would want to see. We've obviously accumulated, manipulated, and now we're looking to distribute towards that minor buy side there. Where would you place your stop? Well, I mean, it depends on how this trade forms, but it wouldn't be below the equal lows. It really depends on what we actually get, but as of now we're expecting a bearish order block, so let's not jump the gun. Oh, that's jokes. I just remembered I ordered food. It's been down there for 2 hours. That's jokes. I have to order that again. Yeah, sometimes when you order a bit too close to the New York Open, food's got to be it's got to be left. There you go. We got a bearish order block again with another high, which you can see there. So that is our shift in market structure and bearish order block for price to displace through there. if ES can just wait, 17 seconds before it actually shifts, just so we get this high. Alright, cool. Yeah, so if we shift higher now, that would be exactly what we're looking for. We've not traded into that 5-minute bearish gap yet, but if we do shift, then the 5-minute, it will go towards being bearish, and the 15's bullish, and the hourly is neutral. So that is correct, it is neutral. Yeah. No, not neutral, bearish. There you go. So essentially what we need to see for price is to take out these equal lows. That's essential. So this model here is not actually a valid trade. So the bias is neutral. We failed to shift anyway. So we shifted structure, but we failed to create a gap on NQ and ES, and the bias is neutral. So I wanted to see it trade out of the 5-minute bearish gap, seek equal lows, trade back into them bullish imbalances there. That would be what we're looking for. So the most obvious draw right now is those equal lows. That's where probability will lie for price to draw to that area. Seek liquidity, form a nice solid bias, and then either inside of this macro or the next one, we will have potentially something that we can take. Can't get rid of him, can you? Just pops up on the rails left, right and centre. Goes onto Instagram, Andrew Tate pops up straight away. That's where I found ICT. I found ICT inside of Andrew Tate's Hustlers University at the time. That's where it all began. That's where it began. It wasn't actually inside of his group, but it was mentioned in one of the chats, and that's where I came across ICT, and that's where I watched the 2022. Okay, so we are gonna come back for the lunch macro at 11:35 a.m. and we'll see what we get for the final macro of the week, whether price takes out the equal lows or not, and then we will work from there. So 11:35, I'll unmute my mic and we will see what we get from there. Right, okay guys, so let's take a look at the chat. People were talking about that, there was a long. People were talking about a long. Okay, so I'm sat here monitoring price just with my, mic muted. Alright, let's discuss this here of what we can see. So, a sweep of sell side. Okay, trading as of an entry. Let's presume people are talking about an entry at 11:11. Okay, so there's a gap on NQ and ES. As far as a bearish order block, we have a bearish order block for price, which stands as of this point, which on ES is not paired with the gap, which on NQ is not paired with the gap. But that's not the thing I was paying attention to. If you look at 11:11 on the 5 minute, which closed at 15, so the 5 minute that closed at 15, okay, we was trading inside of the 5 minute bearish gap, which causes the 5 minute to be bearish. The 15 minute was bullish, so it was a neutral bias. I didn't even consider a long here. We swept sell side with a neutral bias, trading in the 5, a gap on both, a displacement on both, nothing paired with the gap, and also a neutral bias. So right now we've got, going into the lunch, a bearish SMT on NQ, shift in market structure, an inverse of a bullish order block paired with the gap. So essentially we have the whole model in one as of now. So the 5 minute bias is bullish, the 15 minute bias is now been neutralized, and the hourly bias is neutral, and the rest of them are neutral. So the 5 minute is what dictates a bullish bias here. If we inverse the bullish gap, yes, we can actually have a bearish bias there. Then yes, that is a possible scenario, as long as we don't trade into the lower bullish gap. So inversing this bullish gap, the draw will be lower to the next bullish gap or low, forming a bearish bias. And if we get an entry in for price, then we can actually look for a short position inside of the macro. Yeah, I know to, majority of you guys, it's felt like a slow week, and, it's nothing to really, it's actually a very good experience for people that are new to see this type of week. It's not every single week that we're taking a trade and, it's a fast-paced week, Yes, we've closed this week negative 1R from a mistake on Monday, but that's fine. Now, from last week, we closed up 2.2R, and we're up 1.2 since the start of you guys watching trading live. And as far as this month, it's a positive of a plus 5.2R in the profit from the first week of October. So, this week was relatively slow, and it's okay. It's exactly what it's good to experience as a developed and a developing trader. Doesn't matter what concepts you trade, you're going to have weeks when you actually shouldn't be taking a trade because there wasn't anything. Now, this doesn't usually happen. It happens probably twice a year, but it's good at, everyone gets to experience realistically what it's like to have a week where there is less opportunities to take. Could you explain the neutral rule? What makes it neutral? Is it bearish, bullish, fairly gap at the same time, kind of being in the middle of two different directions? For example, if we have the 5 minute as bullish and we have the 15 minute as bearish, that's neutral. Or, to make one time frame neutral, it's either not trading in a gap or it's met the draw, or we're in a bullish and a bearish gap simultaneously overlapping. So, today we've experienced both bullish, bearish, and neutral. But nor have any of them led to us taking a trade. Now, what you see on social media, I wouldn't really take it as, oh wow, this person's made so much money today. You need to think about yourself and the model that you trade, because equally, as much as they claim to make, or whether they do or not, right, the trades that, you know, they maybe don't showcase, or the model that they trade potentially isn't even profitable. So, you know, you need to actually really ensure that the trades that you take are as close to the model as possible, as exactly what we do, with a proven edge. And, you know, as I said to you guys at the start of this stream, obviously, for some people that are newer to approaching ICT, they're probably going to have some doubts. They're probably going to be sat there thinking, no trades this week, how's that possible? Well, that's actually reality. And I really strongly suggest on the Friday, Saturday of this week, as someone asked if I do the live streams for backtesting, just hop on TradeZeller and backtest, even if it's for 2 hours. Just start from July, work your way up to where we are now, and have those results down. Just do one 50k account, start it in July, trade it as you would usually, follow the risk management plan, and see what you're at now. And I guarantee you, you will make pretty close or more than $10,000 on that 50k account since July. That's just on one account. So yeah, if you do that, even whether you're experienced, non-experienced, just always backtest on Saturdays. It's something I do as well to this day. Can't stop, won't stop, like Meeks. James, how's it going? James Oxley, how's it going, brother? How have you found, you know, this week and also today as well? To be fair, I don't know if James even heard. Maybe he's not got his audio on. Milo is right. I somehow ended below break even on live during August. I almost said that wrong. He told me to backtest it, and I ended up 9+ R. Yeah, I mean, you know, there you go. That was what I got in August. I got above a 12 R around that in August. It was a lovely month. I was in Houston, Texas at the time, actually. But I don't want you guys to, like, you know, as much as, you know, the advice I bring to you guys is very valuable, how do I put it? I want you guys to, you know, take different pieces of valuable information that you might have been struggling with, and you're like, oh, well, I didn't know this, and then apply it to price, and it will help you in future positions. That when you're monitoring price, you'd say, oh, okay, I would usually do this, but because of this or what I learned, it's saved you. Even at the point where you're independent, and it will come to a point where you don't need to tune into these live streams anymore, because you will have seen the model so many times, and it will be easier for yourself to actually just monitor it on your own. But the streams are not going anywhere. So for those of you, we're not going anywhere. We're here. We are here. That's it. We're locked in 9:20 a.m. But at the end of the day, the goal of many is to become independent on their own. And each day, the more times that you guys have seen me monitor price, you're definitely, without a doubt, becoming more and more, you know, knowledgeable, but also your brain is processing the same information over and over again. It's going to become second nature. It's the exact same as what I was when I first approached ICT. Yeah, so obviously 5 minute got inverse, so it would be bearish until the next bullish gap or low. We trade into the bullish gap. Now the 5's bullish, and the 15 is bullish as well. So we do have a bullish bias intraday for price to draw back to minor buy side. Why is the 15-minute bullish now? If you go onto the 15-minute, price traded back into a 15-minute bullish gap. So the bias is bullish to the next high or bearish gap, but there's no bearish gaps, so it's just the high, which you can see there on ES or NQ, whichever one gets taken first. 5's bullish because we're trading out of the bullish gap. It got inversed, so it'd be bearish, and it was bearish. The next 5-minute opened and met the draw, so these are all intraday biases, right? So the bias is bearish on the 5, and then it's reached down into the 15 and the 5. So immediately the bias literally went from being bearish and then drawn straight lower into the 5 and 15 bullish gap. Well, the good news for the discipline side of things, for those of you, who are on the earlier stages, a little bit more impatient, is that this is actually the longest time that you're ever going to have to wait to taking a trade. So if you have actually gone through this and not taken any trades this week, then, you are 99.5% better than all traders in the whole space. 99.6%. So you're in that 0.4% just from taking no trades this week. And it's definitely not a bad thing. It's a very, very good thing, because majority of traders this week, they would have ended up in a loss. There was no trades, even the ones that were invalid and missing confluences, they got ran to stop loss this week. We avoided all of it. Obviously, apart from Monday, the mistake on Monday, which was negative 1R, but we avoided all of the actual non-valid trades. I've been $400 from getting funded this whole week. I know how it is, and it will come to a point where it'll be very, very tempting to just get that $400. And with you being that close, don't let that temptation get to the best of you, because it got to the best of me in the early stages many, many times, and it does, more times than not. Everyone knows it always sends you back, and you've made that progress to get there. And why, if you're just almost there with, essentially one trade, you're actually half a trade. So as soon as you actually pass the point of passing, you don't hold to a 2-to-1, you just close out. If you pass an eval, you pass an eval. Do you have experience in e-com as well? Is Shopify/Amazon or trading worth it for the long-term wealth and freedom? Well, obviously trading futures is going to make you the most amount of possible money as possible, because I can purchase a funded account for $49, pay a $150 activation, which is $200, and to get into ecom, you need to be setting up Shopify stores. You then need to understand how to set up a Shopify store, but it's the same with trading as well. You also need to understand how to trade the model, which is far more difficult than setting up an ecom store. There's sides to both, but the startup cost to getting into ecom is way higher. There's many more different avenues. It's not just about learning the model. It's about learning and understanding how to run ads efficiently and properly, or you pay someone to do it. You also need to run a store and find a product that's actually going to sell and market that product in a way that you constantly have to keep hiring marketing teams and scale that brand accordingly. So yes, you can make money from ecom. Is it easier to get money from trading futures and payouts or ecom, I would say trading futures. If you put the time into actually understanding the model, or you're inside of this group, then you've already got it. But for people trying to learn it from scratch, then yes, trading the model will take you longer. And if you had, say, $2,000 to start on ecom, you will have to go through store after store until you get a store that does essentially grow and pop off. And you don't have to put money into stores, but you do need to run some sort of test ad, like a seed ad, where you see if your product is actually, you know, worth the click-through rate of how much you're spending on ads to how much you're actually converting, and you run it as a test, and you refund all the customers, and then you bring it back. My personal is that trading in itself, and I trade Bitcoin and Nasdaq futures only, you will make way more money even if the brand falls off or the brand, you know, starts to decline. Your portfolio is always going to be on the incline, so it doesn't matter what point you are in. Your actual, you know, ecom, you're not always going to be trying to launch a new store, a new product, hire new teams who can market, etc. It is you and no one else. There is no sort of team around you, not relying or telling someone that they're doing their job wrong. You are the person doing the job wrong or right. And this business will make you far more money than ecom ever will. Now, obviously, someone who does ecom, like Samuel Noah, he's going to say the opposite. But then at the same time, I'm sure he's made a lot of money with Bitcoin positions or other positions as well, which he will make far more money in that field than he will with potentially ecom. But he's obviously got his hands on a very good brand, which is doing 30 mil plus a year. But then I've also know people who are doing, you know, and their portfolio is fluctuating 4 to 5 million a day. So when you really look at the grand scheme of things, ecom really is belittled by the financial sector of trading. How do you feel about the stats that trading is the hardest industry you can indulge and statistically more harder than being a professional athlete due to how much, yeah, it is the hardest industry to get into, especially if you're misleaded, which this whole trading space is full of misleading information. That is also why, and even if you get the right information, many people don't even succeed because they can't, from what we've seen this week, they can't help themselves but to take a trade and they know it's not valid. And they'd even manipulate themselves. I know it sounds crazy, but they manipulate themselves to say, oh, it's valid. And then when they get stopped out, they're like, oh no, it was just a mistake. I wasn't meant to take that. And that right there is the reason why that final 20% of, they know how the model operates, they know how they should be following the model, but the reason they just don't get to that upper point is because there is a very fine line between trading the model correctly and following it one of one and actually having the win rate that the model has. But if you trade outside, you're on your own path. So that's something that's, you know, is non-tested waters. So that's why majority of people fail, is because they are extremely, like, unknowledgeable. For example, if you have someone like, you know, Dodgy, what's his name? Dodgy Trades, or whatever his name is. So his model in itself, I'm pretty sure, I have not backtested it, but it's got to be unprofitable. Now, I'm not coming at people, but I'm just stating the lack of knowledge into taking a position, and especially if you're educating other people on social media or guiding them, right, you need to at least have the fundamental knowledge down first before you actually hop on social media and have a, you know, a say in things. And his model consists of a sweep of liquidity following, say, some sort of higher time frame bias confluence of a PD ray and an inverse fair value gap on, say, the 5 to target a draw on liquidity. So no shift, no sort of other, you know, bearish or bullish PD rays being inversed on a long or short position. Just a lack of structure to the model, which just makes it more of a guessing game whether it's actually a trade or not. But that's also hence why, you know, I've not actually got views on social media, is because that's never been my intention. And people listen to me, and people who are there for to be fed kind of that, you know, almost hope, where they hear, say, other influencers talking about things that are gonna make them 100k in their first month. Now, I would never tell that to you guys, and it's very easily achievable to do 100k trades. You've seen Dom. I've been, you know, Dom, for example, he's now achieved that, but that's not in his first month. And there's many other people inside of this group as well achieving 50k days, but that's not just from their first month. And the reason why I don't get views is because it's so boring to listen to me. Sometimes, anyway. Sometimes, you know, you guys don't mind it, but when I'm actually explaining different things to price, majority of audience, they don't want to hear it, right? Because it is relatively boring to listen to. But that's how business goes in this space. People who don't want to pay attention to what they actually need to know, they do fail, and they go for that kind of short-term gratification, or whatever the word is. They go for that kind of short-term dopamine effect, and they keep chasing that until they end up going down a different path of business. And this business is not for those type of people. I think one person that, you know, you guys should watch is someone called Anton Krail. He's got some great advice, and he's an institutional trader from Goldman Sachs. So you should watch some videos about Anton Krail. I watched him in the early days, and he's got some, very insightful things to say. If you literally just spell it like Anton, so like an ant on Anton Krail. Listen to a few of his speeches. Obviously, he doesn't trade similar, and he does obviously trade on his own terms as of now, because he doesn't work for the bank anymore, but he was a trader at Goldman Sachs. But yeah, you can listen to Anton Krail. You can also listen to... Sounds like a GTR. Oh my god. Fucking hell, that's got to be a GTR. I've got to go check. One sec. I've got to see that. What the fuck? That's not even a GTR. I don't even know what that is. That must be like a Subaru or some shit. Did you guys hear that? That's crazy. I just seen him doing a few donuts. But yeah, getting back to it. So, Anton Krail is a good person to watch on YouTube. Great advice. Also, another person, Umar Ashraf. Can't really say his name. He is a good person to watch as well. Extremely profitable. He has a floor in Dubai, trading floor himself, Black Line Trading, so he's doing very well. Another person that you could potentially watch, I'd say that's about it. I'd only watch those two people, to be honest. I'm surprised you guys didn't actually hear that car. That was pretty loud. Sounded like someone got shot. ¿Cuántos hablamos español? I know ¿cuántos means how many, no? ¿Cuántos años tienes? How old are you? See, I've learned this from being in my experience in Colombia here. ¿Cuántos hablos español? Do you speak Spanish? Is that what it means? Do you speak Spanish? I need to learn Spanish. What about TGR? I don't really know. I don't really pay attention to people, to be honest. Oh, the 100x your income. See, JP knows that the best women do come from, you know, the best looking women come from Colombia. The most loyal women come from Eastern Europe. I'll find that video for you now. 1000x. 5 minute is currently bullish towards the highs, and obviously the 15 minute is bullish towards the high. That's the video if you want to choose to watch it. I mean, I would go ahead and watch it now because we're likely not going to get a trade. Unless, if price takes out minus sell side of this point here, then I'd be interested in taking a long following a bullish bias. So I would hang around for another 5 minutes, and if there isn't anything after that, then I'm just going to choose to have a cigar and get some food on the order, and that'll be us done for the week. I will add over the weekend and also tonight to the Discord to ensure that every channel is completely filled in. Milo, what are you saying tonight? Going out is Friday, hitting up Pattaya streets. No, not really. I don't really go out too much. I might go out tomorrow. I'm still debating it. The only reason why tomorrow is because Sway Lee is performing in one of the clubs down the road, but I don't really tend to go out too much, so yeah, I'm looking at WhatsApp here. What time frame do you think your Bitcoin short will play out? As far as, say, options, I mean, if you was to trade options on Bitcoin and you're looking at more of an expiry date on when, you know, let's say Bitcoin's going to play out as far as the short, I would put it by an expiry date of, say, April of 2026. So I'm really giving it a space of 6 to 8 months for Bitcoin to actually return back to around 75k. Now, obviously, two scenarios is going to happen. Is that it's either going to draw back towards all-time highs and then make its final run, or it's going to draw out of the bearish confluences that it has on the higher time frame at the moment and draw lower. The most probable scenario is that it does draw lower from where it currently is, out of the daily bearish gap. But then there's obviously the scenario that it draws back to the high. Either way, it's a 15% risk of portfolio and liquidations at 220k USD, which is not going to happen. You trade the same model on Bitcoin but on the higher time frame, or is it different? I mean, I've explained this before, but for people that haven't, then inside of the crypto section, I monitor a lot of larger size crypto wallets, Bitcoin wallets, Ethereum wallets, etc. I monitor, you know, the behavior inside of those wallets, whether they're extreme buying or selling, and I take that into account. I also take into account what the Fed is saying. So the last time that the Fed said something important is that he wants the whole market to cool off. Since he said that, gold absolutely skyrocketed. So that's a very obvious, you know, thing, is that gold's gonna obviously rise in fear, and that was when I was in London. So it's got to be about 2-3 weeks ago that the Fed said that. So we're still due for the Nasdaq or the US market, etc., to have a retracement, which Bitcoin's correlated with the Nasdaq, to see retracement lower. You can also look at liquidation heat maps and also take into account previous Bitcoin cycles on the halving every 4 years on when each cycle usually peaks and how much it's on a deflationary increase each cycle. So each cycle tends to return a less and less and less of a percentage return as it becomes more stable after each every 4-year cycle. You can also track liquidation points, and if you look at the heat map from the ETF when it was launched in October of 2024, then around 60k, 70k is where would be a healthy retracement for Bitcoin. So it's many confluences that I do look at. I know it's a mouthful, but it is a mouthful of, you know, things I've learnt over the years. How many trades do you take on crypto? Around 1 or 2 trades per year. But don't worry, with Nasdaq futures we take way more than that. We take on average 1 to 3 trades per week trading futures on the Nasdaq. What's my win rate on crypto trades? Well, it's actually currently 100%. I know it sounds crazy and it sounds extremely unrealistic. I've never lost a crypto trade. It sounds absolutely insane, I know. But I've only taken around 6 to 8 trades. So I've rarely taken barely any trades. And you will post every crypto trade? Yes, of course. Yeah. I've actually never lost a crypto trade in my life. I've never experienced a loss. As far as the crypto sector. But I've taken such few trades, and you know, it's relatively impossible for me to actually take a loss from the trades that I have taken. So as far as taking a long, I don't have a stop loss. And as far as taking shorts, I run a liquidation but only risk 15% of my account, and the liquidation's so out of price that it never reaches that level and it has to retrace. So, you know, potentially one day I'll be proven wrong, but yeah, the current crypto trade that I'm in is inside the crypto chat at the top. So you guys can see that in the Discord. I posted that as soon as we made the group. I went short in August on the 15th at 118.5. But I'm only in small position, 15% of the account, you know. If you got a 100k Binance account, only take it with 15k on leverage of a 2x to 30k position. Nothing more than that. Nothing too crazy. Alright guys, so as you know, this is us wrapping up our week and also the stream for today. Now I hope you guys have enjoyed this stream today and took some value away from it. I know we haven't taken any trades that have been, you know, as of this week, but you guys have learned the biggest lesson that you ever could have learned. Is patience. I will update this Discord over the weekend and ensure each channel is filled out, and I will keep you guys posted through the weekend. Any questions that you guys do have through the weekend, there is a questions chat inside of this Discord, so you know, stay up to date with each other on that. Some very knowledgeable people inside this Discord, and there's people trying to come up from, you know, newer levels as well, so everyone's helping each other. It's a great thing, and I also reply to as many questions that I possibly can as well inside of here. So, you know, I'm going to speak to you guys on Monday, backtest through the weekend, and have a great rest of your day.